keeping our own good company. So, we're going to focus this evening on the yin energy, which is the softer, more nurturing side of self compassion. And this softer and more nurturing side can also help us deal with difficult emotions, situations, and disappointments that we have. So, I'd like to tell you a brief little story. This past weekend, I was hiking with my husband in upstate New York, and we were at this very beautiful park in Watkins Glen. And as we're hiking, we hit a crossroads, and unfortunately, the trail that we wanted to go on, there were no dogs allowed, and we had our dogs, so we had to part ways. And so I took the path and I had this view of magnificent waterfalls. And my husband and my dog had to take the South Rim Trail, which was still beautiful, but it didn't have the same good views. And as I'm walking, initially I was saddened by the fact that I couldn't share in this beauty with my husband. It was such a lovely place. It was different. It was just magnificent, really. And I kept hiking. And as I continued to hike and spent time alone, I began reflecting on this week's theme, which is keeping our own good company. Very appropriate theme this week. And so, as I hiked solo, I began really viewing and admiring the breathtaking scenery. And I was pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed my own good company, how much I enjoyed having the time to myself. I don't often have that much time to myself. And it's so important to enjoy our own good company as we spend our entire lives with ourselves. So, of course, we have other extremely meaningful relationships in our lives, right? With our significant other, maybe with our children, our grandchildren, our best friends. However, we spend all of our lives with ourselves every single moment, right? And so, why not cultivate a loving, warm, and caring relationship with ourselves? Why not be our own best friends? And this is exactly what self compassion teaches us, right? It teaches us how to be our biggest supporter, our own cheerleader, our own very best friend. And so there's this quote I'd like to read by Robert Holden, and he says, "Your relationship with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship that you have. Your relationship with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship that you have." And so it's important to take a look at how you treat yourself. And depending on how that is, learn to treat yourself and speak with yourself from a kind, loving, and nurturing place. When we are loving and connected with ourselves, it really spills over into our relationships with other people. So it makes our bonds and relationships stronger, healthier, and more meaningful. And in addition to this, being self compassionate has been shown to increase our motivation. It's been shown to boost happiness, enhance self worth, and foster resilience. And that's only to name a few of the many benefits. So, this evening, let's explore how we treat ourselves. Let's recognize this a little bit, and then let's move in the direction of becoming our very own best friends. And so, with that, there's an invitation to find yourself a comfortable seat, a comfortable posture, whatever that might mean for you this evening. So, maybe uncrossing the legs, maybe uncrossing the arms, placing the hands in the lap. And then there's an invitation to close the eyes or soften the gaze. Just settling into your seat. And as you do, maybe noticing the feet making contact with the floor. Sensing into this contact, this connection with the earth beneath the feet. And noticing the sits bones resting on the chair. Sensing into this contact, this support of the seat beneath you. If it feels right, maybe finding a little extra length in the spine, reaching through the crown of the head. Maybe even lifting the shoulders up and back and down, opening up the chest just a little bit. And then gently directing the attention onto the breath in the body and noticing one breath in and one breath out. Another breath in and then another breath out. And continuing to follow along the breath in this way, staying with the breath as best you can. Nowhere to go, nowhere to be, but right here with the breath in the body. Just riding the natural waves of the breath cycle. Following each breath along, breath by breath and moment by moment. Maybe noticing how each exhale naturally turns into the very next breath. And we're going to move into a meditation adapted from MSC. And so I invite you now to think of a time when a close friend of yours was suffering or struggling in some way. So maybe your friend had a misfortune, maybe they failed at something, or maybe they felt inadequate. Right? So just calling to mind such a time or situation. And then remembering, recalling, how did you respond to your friend in this situation? What did you say? What tone of voice did you use? What were your nonverbal gestures like? And now think of a time when you were struggling or when you were suffering in some way. So, reflecting on a time when you had a misfortune or when you failed at something or when you felt inadequate. And so, just calling such a circumstance to mind. And now reflecting on, how did you respond to yourself in this situation? What did you say to yourself? What tone of voice did you say it in? What was your posture like? Your nonverbal gestures? So, just taking a moment to reflect on this. How did you treat yourself when you were struggling in some way? And now reflecting on if there are any differences in how you treat a dear friend versus how you treat yourself. So are there any differences there? And if there is a difference, do you notice a pattern in how you treat yourself? Are you your own best friend or your biggest enemy? Would you treat another friend? Would you treat a friend or another the way that you treat yourself? And if you recognize that you don't treat yourself as well as you treat others, know that you are not alone. Many of us treat others better than we treat ourselves. The good news is that we can change this. We can learn to become our own best friends. And so, if you notice that you treat others better than you treat yourself, perhaps placing a hand over the heart or another soothing and supportive place on the body, right? So, offering yourself this soothing touch. And this soothing touch is a kind way to comfort ourselves when we're hurting or struggling in some way. And so, as you offer yourself this touch, maybe sensing the warmth of your hand, maybe sensing the contact that your hand is making with your body. This is you supporting you and knowing that you can always offer yourself this gesture. And it's a wonderful way to soothe yourself, to be there for yourself in times of need, in times of challenge or struggle or difficulty. So you have the ability to offer yourself comfort and kindness when you need it the most. And just reflecting on this. So rather than needing comfort and kindness to come externally from others, it can come from within you. And now, from this warm hearted place, we will be finding loving kindness phrases for ourselves. And so, asking yourself, what do I need? What do I truly need? And just letting this answer be a universal human need, such as to be loved, to be peaceful, healthy, valued. So just seeing what bubbles up to the surface when you ask yourself, what do I truly need? And now asking yourself, what do I need to hear? And maybe it's, I love you. You belong. You are enough. You are a good person. And so just seeing what bubbles up to the surface when you ask yourself, what do I need to hear? And once you've determined what you need and what you need to hear, turning these into a wish for yourself. So, something such as, may I be kind to myself, or may I know that I belong, or may I love myself. And if this feels too strong, perhaps trying, may I learn to love myself. So, just taking some time to find a phrase or a few phrases that really resonate with you. So, finding phrases that feel right for you today, in this moment. These phrases may shift and change depending on the day or the situation that we're in, but just staying with what you need to hear today, what you need to hear right now. And so, taking some time now to find these phrases, this group of words that hits home. And once you've found these phrases or this phrase, repeating this phrase or phrases to yourself over and over again. And as you do this, doing the best that you can to allow this to be as easy as possible, to just flow naturally. Just continuing to repeat these phrases slowly and gently to yourself. Maybe even whispering these phrases into your own ear as if you were offering these kind words to a loved one. Just surrounding yourself with these kind words, letting them wash over you, perhaps even through you. These words that you need to hear. And now noticing what it's like to offer yourself these kind words. How does it feel? So, no need to judge the experience, just noticing. What is this like? How does it feel? And then, in your own time, letting these phrases go and coming home to the breath in the body once again. So, coming back to the natural rhythm of the breath and just gently resting the awareness here. Following along each breath. And I'm going to read a poem called A Love Letter to Me by Mina. Dear me, you, the way you are perfect. You, with your little struggles you bear, with all the strength you carry so desperately around, finding a way to use it in your everyday life. You, with all your words stuck in your throat you're so scared to say out loud, so you write them down. You, who has already realized that you must better yourself first to better others. You are all through perfect in your own way. And yes, times were tough back then, but you were tougher. You mastered to overcome your biggest fear, the fear to stand for what you want and to love yourself entirely. And even though your self love has improved so much, self love is a lifetime process. My wonderful, beautiful love, you carry mountains on your back and universes in your mind. And every single day you wake up, you are a better version of yourself. Whatever you wish to do so. This is your life. The world is waiting for you to make it the place it deserves to be. Do your best, and whatever you have reached at the end of the day, you did your best. You were great, and you could not have done any better. I am proud of you, and I love you. To the dearest, most beautiful person on the planet, me. And so just letting that poem land if it resonates with you. And in a moment, I'll be ringing the bell, which will conclude the formal practice period together. Just seeing if it's possible to allow the sound to be part of the practice itself. And when you're ready, beginning to wiggle the fingers and toes, bringing some awareness back into the body here and gently allowing the eyes to open if they've been closed. Coming back to your space, your environment, to the screen. In this meditation, we explored keeping our own good company. And so I invite you throughout this week, continue exploring these loving kindness phrases that you came up with. Try them on for size, see what works, see what feels right. Maybe in different moments you need to hear different phrases, or perhaps you'd like to write them down and recite them to yourself in the morning when you wake up or in the evening before you go to bed. And I also would like to invite you to spend a little alone time with yourself. So even if it's just 1 minute by yourself, and see what that's like. Notice what it's like to be in your own good company. And so I wish you all a very wonderful week ahead, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Be well, everyone, and take care. Bye bye.